Evening and welcome once again to Gaming Under the Influence. I'm Mike here with Alex, coming to you from Green Dragon in Woodbridge to talk about video games. How are you, pal?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Not so bad. Was working through Crimson Desert.
Yes.
But
as am I.
Must say it tuckered me out.
Yeah.
It tuckered me out. After, I think, 12 to 15 hours that I put in.
Yeah, I think we're roughly about the same amount of time played.
Yeah,
It's got a lot of ups and downs for me.
This is I can't believe, well, we could start by saying it's definitely had a cultural impact, eh?
Yeah, it's been all over the news cycle lately. A lot of people have been talking about this game.
A lot of people talking about this game.
Like I said, a lot of praise and a lot of not so much praise, I guess.
It started with a lot of complaints, but now everything I see seems to be positive, even from people like the guy at Forbes there, Paul Tassi, or the Washington Post guy.
Oh, I saw today that IGN requested, the reviewer requesed
to re-review
it. When does that ever happen?
Very strange, right? Yeah.
So weird. It's almost like, they want to bump their score up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, align themselves perhaps with the changing perception.
Yeah. I couldn't give a crap what they say about any game at any point, but anyway.
That goes without saying. But
yeah, exactly.
No, this is a tricky one, man. Like, I was excited for this for a long time.
Yeah, our last video was actually Don't Miss This. We were pretty much hyping it up and recommending it before we really got our teeth sunk into it.
And I think, it needs to be said that as a piece of software, as a work of engineering, it's definitely impressive.
Yeah.
It's a physically expansive world that, I heard complaints at the beginning about how it feels to play the game and all this stuff, but I never had any problem with any of that. I think that it looks really good. The exploration is cool. It plays well. The combat's pretty fun and interesting.
It's really fun even just to fly around and see the massive, continent and just knowing that this is all explorable. It's an impressive piece of software, like you said.
It's impressive at that level, Yeah. It's definitely interesting. It's as a thing you play and as you engage with, I don't know if there's many things like it. There's definitely open worlds that approach the same size and have the same kind of things to do, but this one really strikes you right away with the scale.
Yeah, it's almost like playing like a modern 2026 version of like a Skyrim.
Yeah,
for that time.
I'm sure a lot of people are making that comparison. That's for sure. Yeah. Definitely does seem that way.
Yeah.
Influenced by all manner of open world games that have come out. Yeah.
Almost every single one of them.
So it looks good. It plays well. I think that it's easy to say that. In that respect, I guess our anticipation, what we were expecting from it, definitely came true. Like that
at that point. Yeah.
But I think we briefly touched on this in our last video, but what I found incredibly disappointing is the total lack of like a coherent notion or any coherent meaning governing the player's engagement with the world or even the world itself,
Yeah.
People will probably respond to this by saying we're too early in the game to even judge whether or not this is the case, but
fair, dude, maybe
this is the most empty, meaningless, soulless world I think I've ever played inside of in a video game.
And it shouldn't be at that point, especially 15 hours in. I'm okay with it starting off a little bit slow, but it never really got its footing. Whereas a game like that you'd compare to, let's say, Breath of the Wild, even gets off right from the hop. Within an hour, not even within 30 minutes, you kind of know what's going on. Skyrim, within an hour, the world, who you are, what you're doing in this, whatever, right? It just
all that
feels
stuff
more coherent. This one, the first 10 hours are almost super disjointed, and I think it does get better at some point after that, but it never really
some people say that
solid footing,
that the story becomes more interesting, but I don't think that.
But at what point?
It simply doesn't have though. There's a couple of things to distinguish here too, right? On the one hand, there's this story, there's the narrative, the characters and their dialogue and the plot beats and stuff like that.
Right.
And that certainly does seem to be lacking at the beginning, but it's possible that this could improve, no doubt.
For sure.
But I don't even care personally if a game has that.
Yeah.
Has this movie style or novel style narrative.
Yeah,
we
play
plot
a lot
beats
of
and character stuff.
And,
and
they don't even have that kind of, down in front of your face story, right?
I have enjoyed video games and even open world video games that have traditional movie style narratives like Death Stranding or Days Gone. I really liked, right? Games can have that, but the most video gamey sorts of storytelling don't have that.
Don't have movie.
They don't have like
stories. Yeah.
cutscenes
Yeah.
and character dialogue and stuff
That's
like
right.
that. They tell the story via your ludic engagement with the
Yeah.
world, by your
Yeah.
playing in it, right? It's what makes Souls like one of my favorite genres. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
that
So it doesn't even need to have that.
yeah, games can certainly convey the meaning of the world that you're inside of via your active engagement with it, by making you perform the character in the world into existence. That's what a game can do that a movie can't do. So I could totally like overlook the fact that the story is shallow or even non-existent. They don't even
Right.
need to have a story.
Yeah.
Like I think about Valheim when I play this game sometimes.
Yeah, true,
It has almost
true.
the same scale. You go chop down trees and you fly about the world with your floaty cape and stuff like that. It's very Valheim in that respect, but Valheim doesn't even try to have characters and a narrative and stuff like that. But everything you're doing in Valheim, the meaning of your action in relation to the world and its fiction and the categories
Yeah.
that govern that world, it's very clear, right? What you're a Viking in a world that's savage, and you're sent by Odin to cultivate it and prepare for, you know, Valhalla and all of this stuff. Even the ways that the enemies you fight are related to the boss of the biome. Like there's always this like tight meaning-based justification for the things that you're doing in a game like Valheim, despite
Yeah.
the total lack of a narrative story. It doesn't exist, literally.
Yeah, it doesn't need, you know,
Yeah.
characters' actions to thrust the story or whatever.
That's right,
You're
yeah.
just you're playing it because you're
Yeah.
doing, you know, you're playing your part in that world in service of.
That's right. And there is meaning governing your action.
Yeah,
It's just not
exactly.
presented to you in the way that a novel or a movie would present it to you.
Yeah.
I think Souls is like that with slightly more dialogue. You meet characters that talk to you,
Fair,
for example,
yeah.
right? Souls has that, but it still errs on the side of like presenting the world and the world builder's vision of reality
Yeah,
and
it
human
doesn't-
nature
it
and all this
doesn't
stuff.
literally spell the
Yeah.
story out for you, and
It
like
presents
this
it to you.
game maybe doesn't either, and that's fine.
Well,
Well, what you're saying,
But here's the thing, like, firstly, they try to do that. They
Yeah.
certainly wanted to have, it seems like, some like Sony style, like movie based,
right?
you know, narrative.
So that didn't
with
work out.
named characters who have conversations with each other, but those are awful, bro. At least this far in, like, man, like the way, like, I've read somebody online say that dialogue could have been AI generated, and I totally believe that.
Yeah.
Like the things that people say, it's just like such
It's
worthless
weird.
nonsense.
Yeah.
They'd be so much better off not talking at all.
Yeah.
And the bigger problem for me, though, like I could overlook this, but the thing that
Right.
that really catches me up, that after a dozen or more hours, like draws me out of it entirely and robs me of any pleasure that I would otherwise derive from playing in the world, is the fact that like there's no the world's not governed by a coherent vision, you know. And I think this is factually borne out by reports that have come out in the news, you know, from people who worked at Pearl Abyss and from the voice actor, all of them saying like, we didn't really know what we were doing with the story or the world, and we were kind of building as we go along. And there was no guy in control who was the main director giving other people orders. But
Right.
you don't get the sense that the world is a unified whole, you know? It's a bunch of fantasy tropes. It's like somebody looked at the cover of like a D&D rule book or like a black metal album,
Yeah.
you know? And they like appropriated all these superficial fantasy tropes and stuffed them in for you to mess around in, but it's all so skin deep.
Yeah,
man.
like a playground of
yeah,
D&D.
yeah, like a theme park.
Yeah, theme
No?
park. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the world is animated by a coherent vision. Like anything in it is real in its own terms, right?
Yeah, and for me that like doesn't compel me to,
No.
you know, want to play. Like it doesn't have that like addicting factor where like, you know, it's like the first thing you want to do when you get home, like jump on and
Yeah.
play this game. That like
Yeah.
it takes you out of it, right? And it becomes like we said earlier, like a mechanically impressive piece of software.
That's right.
With, you know, even a lot of fun to be had. I'm not even going to
At that level, sure.
You could, yeah.
Then it's
but-
like throwing
but it's
water
missing-
balloons or like playing with a
Yeah.
plastic train set or something like that, right? Like,
It's missing something, and it's funny. It actually just reminded me of it's kind of a detour, but the other day I saw like an article where people were like studying gamers who finish video games such as like long RPGs and then go on like a post-depression.
Yeah,
and,
I
like,
saw that too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know you've like experienced that, and
Yeah.
they said it was mostly related to like long RPGs
Yeah.
where you become like invested with the characters
Sure,
and
sure.
really in what's happening in the narrative or the world, the story, and like this doesn't evoke any of that. And
No, it doesn't.
That's kind of the biggest problem there, right?
It's
In
because
that-
for me, like the way that I look at video games, you know, and we can get into this a little bit more, but the way that I look at games is, in the first place, they're supposed to express a world that is built around the author's conception of what's real, what people are, and how history is supposed to unfold. You know, thousands of years ago, Aristotle said in this book, The Poetics, that the poet's more like a philosopher than he is a historian, because it's the job of the poet not to say what simply did or did not happen, but what should happen in accordance with his perception of necessity, with the categories that govern the world, right? And when I play a game, you know, something like Death Stranding or Days Gone or Elden Ring, like, these games strike me as interesting because there's a clear, like, vision governing the work. You can tell what the author understands reality as, what he thinks people are, how he thinks based on those broader ideas that people are going to react to each other within the story that he's conceived. Right. There's a very clear, organic wholeness to the thing. It's not merely about what you're doing in the moment, all these disjointed actions that have no relation to each other. It's rather that those actions that you yourself are performing, they derive from this broader, more general concept. And the pleasure that you get from engaging with a game relates to figuring that out insofar as you perform it, right? This is especially true of games like Souls-likes, but it's true in a different way of JRPGs or games that do have traditional movie-style narratives.
Right.
The essential thing to me, though, is that there is such a vision governing the work. And when I go to play a game that doesn't have that, it feels to me like I'm playing with a Lego set, you know? Like I'm walking around a theme park. Like it may be moment to moment fun, the way that like drinking a drink is pleasurable, or smoking a cigarette, or, you know, like amusing yourself with a comedy series or something like that. But the thing that's lacking is that more fundamental meaning that I would prefer all of these parts work together to express, you know?
Yeah, it lends to more of a shallow experience.
Yeah, it is a shallow experience. Right? It's like a toy. It's not an expressive work, you know?
And it's not like Expedition 33, you know?
Yeah, sure.
You really like...
That definitely, really, you know, you can tell what kind of game that is, right? Yeah. And I think like part of the problem, though, is that nowadays, you know, when we talk about games, both within and without people, within and without the industry, within and without fandoms, within and without people who actually play or like games or not. Like we use the same word to describe something like Fortnite, like Counter-Strike, like Apex Legends, as we do to describe Dark Souls or Death Stranding or Disco Elysium. Like we just lump these all into the same category.
Yeah, I mean, they're like separated by genres, but I see what you're saying. In the
they're definitely different genres, but even more fundamentally, like
they're just
more than just like the art that they employ or the mechanics that they use. Like what the person who made them is doing is totally different. Like in one case, the guy is making a toy for people to amuse themselves with, or a tool for them to compete with,
like
or socialize with.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And in the other hand, it's like somebody making a painting or writing a novel. Like they have some concept that they're trying to convey to you. Instead of using words or pigment on a canvas, they're using playable mechanics. But it's still more like those, in that the purpose of the thing is not for you to even have any kind of subjective feeling in the first place. That's a byproduct, certainly, but more importantly, it's for you to intellectually engage with what they're trying to signify with the playable mechanics, right? And we haven't resolved this tension as people who play games, as people who make games.
Won't even really put two and two together.
No. And in fact, probably the prevailing opinion is probably like, it's supposed to be fun. You know, I come home from my 9 to 5 and I want to have some fun.
I want to unwind and have fun.
You know what I mean?
You're right. Yes.
So I think that's the climate in which something like this game came to be. Probably the people making it, given especially that no one guy was in charge, didn't even know which one of those things they were making, if they even distinguished them, right?
Yeah,
they can't really tell what they're trying to do. Are you trying to build a world and depict some providential order of events that makes sense and have some substantial meaning for the player to engage with? Or are you just building like a sandbox that's supposed to be like a Lego set, like a toy for you to amuse yourself with? And that's where it terminates, right? It doesn't really seem like the people who made this game knew which of those things they were trying to do. And it certainly doesn't happen, like it didn't happen in my experience that I even could tell myself, you know? And the end result is that you spend a lot of time messing around doing these things that maybe are engaging and interesting to do as isolated bits of gameplay, but they're not in service to any broader idea. It's just a ton of mechanics drawn from every conceivable inspiration imaginable that don't like have an inner life. They're just kind of thrown together, right? And that's to me like the thing that's just tuckering me out, man. Like I'm playing and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like it's such a chore it feels like to play this, you know? I don't even know like why I'm doing anything that I'm doing. I'm just going forward through these disjointed sequences of events, and like maybe individual ones are cool, but what am I doing? Like why? Why do I care about this? You know?
Yeah, there's not a lot of glue there holding it together, right? To get you to kind of come back and you know, make you want to propel through it, right? Like you said, like you and me, I skipped a couple of days and haven't played it. You know, this is a brand new game and a new IP. If this was like super engaging for me. I wouldn't be able to take my hands off it. And
Yeah,
I've
same.
been somewhat enjoying it. Like, there's a lot to like, but like you said, there's no like ultimate, you know.
It's not communicating anything.
it's not, yeah.
And maybe that's because the people who made it, they didn't want to make a game that does that. They wanted to make, something more like a toy than like the kind of games that I was just
Maybe a
referring
big
to.
open world sandbox, yeah. With
And maybe
lots
the
of
problems with my
mechanics.
expectations more than with,
True.
But
Could be.
I think that gets at a deeper issue that
Yeah.
in a cultural milieu, we haven't decided what a game is supposed to be, and we have no language or categories to distinguish these kinds of games from one another, right? I don't really think straight up that games exist for me to amuse myself with. They're not primarily for fun. They're for the intelligible content that's transmitted using
Yeah.
playable categories,
Like,
right?
they can be fun and I enjoy playing them, but
That's a consequence to me. That's
yeah.
like it's the pleasure that you experience is a byproduct, but it can't be the point. Because
Yeah.
you can enjoy doing drugs or drinking or eating or any other kind of mere bodily activity that has nothing to do with something signified, right? Like, games are supposed to be representational, to my estimation. They're supposed to use gameplay. They're supposed to use actions that you perform in virtual space to convey something to you, And to simply do these actions without any determinate justification, it strikes me as like, it's like you had a beautiful, beautiful body, but it had no soul,
Yeah.
no mind, a brain dead, beautiful body just sitting there looking nice, but there's nothing animating it. It's
freaking
just,
mannequin, yeah.
yeah, that's ultimately what it boils down to for me. So
Crimson Desert is a mannequin.
that's what it strikes me as in many ways, like a theme park.
Yeah.
Like it's not an organic living world. It's just a superficially nice, but totally like vapid and shallow, like arrangement of parts. That's what it comes across as to me. That doesn't know what it wants to be. And like I mentioned a little bit before, reports came out after the game launched that like people who worked at the studio were saying like, yeah, nobody was in charge. They just promoted all the designers to like equal leaders, like an upside down pyramid,
Yeah, we've seen that one before, haven't we?
No unifying vision.
Yeah.
And the voice actor himself of the main character, Cliff there, some Scottish guy, he was saying, yeah, they had me like re-record my lines like years into the recording of lines, like totally re-record everything because they made last minute decisions about the story that were totally different than what they wanted to do before, right? And now like the way they're reacting after the game came out, like it seems like they're scouring Reddit and Twitter all day, like looking for people's complaints and then working to immediately address them and stuff like that. And people are celebrating this, but what this says to me is that, dude, you don't even know what you're trying to do.
You don't even
have
know
no
what you're
confidence in your
making,
gameplay
exactly.
decisions, right? Like you didn't make any decision for any reason according to the world's inner logic. You're just doing it to what? Like make people have like some kind of shallow experience, like they're supposed to have fun, and that's where it terminates, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that when I play Miyazaki games, and it irritates me equally as much when they go and like they patch Elden Ring's DLC or something like that, and they make the last boss easier because
nerf bosses and stuff.
no,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Like it's your job. That's why I'm playing your game instead of making one myself, because I want to see your idea expressed through material choices that you made.
Yeah, that's
Right?
what I
Like-
hate about the discourse around this game. It's all like, oh, we should have mounts for not temporarily, and they should be permanent. And
People
we
like
should
putting laundry lists
do
out of like
this.
what they want from the designers.
Like, who are you? What the hell? What if I don't want that? Get out of here.
At the end of the day, like, then make it, dude. Like, you should.
Yeah.
The whole point of engaging with something somebody else made is to see what they intended according to the mode of expression that they chose,
And
right?
the biggest problem here is that they don't even have a person.
It doesn't really
working
seem
for
like
them
that, right?
Yeah.
Many different
that's a
things
big-
corroborate this, like the feel of the game, the reports from people who worked at the company or from the voice actor, the way that people are talking about it, and the way that the company's reacting in turn. So, I don't know.
shame.
And even the discourse around it, like the things you read, man, they're. I saw this tweet about how now everything like boils down to like this like culture war framework where it's either like some super like rainbow hair woke game and people hate it, or it's like some like jiggle physics like game with pretty characters, and then we all have to love it. Like it's like some Chungus game. We all have to be like, it's awesome. The journalists suck. Like I too think the journalists suck, but it doesn't mean I have to. Like if they're right about something, I have to disregard their opinions. And here I definitely do think they were onto something. Straight up, like this game is like a 7 is generous. Suppose I believed in review scores and stuff like that, right? It's exactly what it deserves. The way people talk about it, on forums and Reddit and Twitter, they talk about how like, wow, man, I'm like 400 hours in and I never even left the first area. Like, wow, like I can do this random thing like with the mechanics that I never would have anticipated. That's well and good, but what is that? Is that really it?
Yeah, like what's that?
We're just here to perform these actions that don't serve any expressive goal and amuse ourselves and marvel at like the particle physics and stuff, and that's where it ends. Like,
yeah, it's terrible.
It's exhausting to me. Yeah. It's a real missed opportunity because, like I said, as a feat of engineering, it's very interesting, and it is like at least
There's a lot to like, unfortunately.
there's a lot to like at that level. But in terms of what the otherwise impressive mechanics are intended to express, if anything, totally, utterly falls short. Like, you know, it's exhausting, man. It's totally exhausting. And one thing I do have to say I can't stand is the puzzles. I can't stand the puzzles.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
I agree. I
couldn't stand it in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Made me drop those games too, but I can't. I can't stand it. Puzzles are like a dumb guy's vision of how being smart feels like. You know, like just figure out this arbitrary thing and walk away feeling some kind of satisfaction. What? Like, it doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah.
No excellent, well-conceived games have these kind of puzzles. They just don't. No Miyazaki game has stupid puzzles. No Kojima game has stupid puzzles. Disco Elysium doesn't have puzzles. No game that has some intelligible concept to convey to you sits there making you mess about with puzzles, bricks and balls and all this nonsense, this arbitrary nonsense. I can't stand puzzles. That's one part about the gameplay I literally cannot stand.
Nothing you'd say good about that.
And there's multiple parts so far. I'm only 15 hours into this apparently 200-hour long game.
God.
Every few steps you got to stop and like do some silly puzzle with mechanics that they lifted from another game. What's the point of that? What are you guys doing, man? I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on here? It's so confusing. And you go from that to like some quest about you did that Red Devil boss too. It's like on 1 minute I'm like stacking blocks together. The next I'm like listening to some guy complain he was abused by his parents. The next I'm supposed to go rescue some guy I just met from the bar where he's drunk or something. I'm just like, what is happening
what's
here? What's going on? And sweeping chimneys and saving cows. Like, oh my God. It's exhausting, man, in that respect. Exhausting. And later on, there's supposed to be some impressive moments where you fly dragons and participate in the siege of a castle or something.
There is.
How do these parts relate to one another?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Right? I feel like I can't even get there, to be honest.
There's no way that I could. I'd have to like just take some serious mind-numbing substances
and just
to soldier through that.
I know.
Yeah,
it's a bit unfortunate. I think we had a little bit higher hopes for it.
Yeah.
And while, you know, there is some good stuff and a lot of things to like, you know, technically impressive work here to be done, but missing one of the biggest things, and like you said, having a unified vision, somebody making decisions would have maybe done wonders for this, but it seems like nobody was there to...
No, we know factually they weren't, but you can tell as you play it as well.
You can tell, it's cobbled together rather than...
It's the video game equivalent of like a beautifully written sentence with nothing to say, I think. You know?
Yeah.
Really beautiful painting that doesn't actually depict anything. It's like materially very competent, but expressively, supposing you do think, like I said, that games are supposed to express a concept, it doesn't accomplish that, right?
That would be a level where people will disagree and just say, hey, I'm having fun.
Yeah, they will.
Don't yuck my yum.
But then we're getting back to this more foundational problem. Like, we don't really, as a culture, have a definition for what a game is supposed to be. We need some more precise language to distinguish these kinds of things from each other.
Fair enough.
Who knows who's going to make that kind of stuff up, but at least for me, like, I feel that tension here, right?
Yeah.
All that said, though, like, it's probably worth experiencing, you know, especially if you're the kind of person with a lot more tolerance for the stuff I described than me.
Oh, for sure.
Than I myself am. Like, then it's worth experiencing. It's a lot of fun to be had here. You could just go off in the distance and explore and climb.
Yeah, there's a lot of exploring. You know? The world is, you know.
Yeah.
It looks good. It's vast. That you can fly around a lot.
Yeah.
Get some cool mounts later on in the game.
Yeah. But all that said, like, I would just play Valheim if that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, fair enough.
Much more interesting. You know? Everything that you do there seems more centered around the game's, like, primary world building conceits. Here it's just...
Yeah, you're always doing what you're supposed to be doing and what you should be doing, right?
One thing that disappointed me especially was, you know, early on in the game, like, you climb up to that thing in the sky, the Zelda ripoff platform in the sky.
Yep.
And like you find some tower and the guy's like, oh yeah, this is a library. It has like all the different worlds in it on these shelves, and like, oh, the words are going to collide with each other. And
that's right. I remember
the abyss and all that stuff. You just never hear about it again for 20 hours.
I think there is more of that, but I've been playing, like up to freaking 11, 12, 13 hours now, and I haven't been back there. There's no more. Like, you can toggle the map to the abyss part.
You see that there's like 60 of those or something like that.
Yeah, but I haven't been back up there yet. No, it's like the Sky Islands in Tears of the Kingdom.
It is. That to me seemed like a promising like world building conceit. You know, this idea that like reality has all these like different layers and they're collapsing on each other, and your job is to like sort of resolve that problem. That's somewhat interesting. But again, like, even if that does end up panning out, what is all this other stuff going on? How does this
kind of
you know,
losing the plot before you?
big time with the puzzles and the sheep herding and this chimney sweeping and it's exhausting, man. Exhausting.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Especially this opening sequence. I don't know what they were thinking, man. I don't know what they were thinking with like making people go around the city doing chores for people and stuff. Like,
Yeah, that was an odd.
I find it incredibly difficult to imagine that somebody there amongst the hundreds of people involved in this game didn't say, you think this is a good idea? Like,
Yeah.
can we
Especially
start
after-
this a little stronger? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like the first hour had a somewhat of a strong start. When you're at camp and you basically get killed or whatever, right?
yeah.
And then
But you go right from that
goes
to
right from
to
that
just-
into generic junk, and then it doesn't recover for another friggin' 6-7 hours, and then by then you're kind of falling flat anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's,
for sure.
it's a weird game for sure.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I can see why it would appeal to people, but again, I think at the root of that appeal versus otherwise is this totally radically different conception of what a game is supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
We don't share that vision, and that's probably why I'm not enjoying this game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I went to play a Souls-like after messing around in this for a week or two, and like I immediately felt the exact opposite. There's almost no like storytelling, but the whole world is like meaningful. Even the hallways you traverse are meaningfully arranged. All of the enemies, like with their visual design, signify something in relation to the broader story and world building. It's just totally opposite. Not a cardboard cutout, and very slim. Like the game design is much more restricted, right? So
Yeah, and you really get that sensation that you want to be, you want to continue playing, like not even in small batches. Like you just want to keep going.
Yeah, you got to force yourself to stop. Here, I gotta force myself to go longer than half an hour, right? Like,
quite the difference.
Really makes me appreciate games with coherent world building and one like vision overseeing all of the different parts, like what you'd find in Death Stranding or Elden Ring, or what I thought was in something like Days Gone, even games like that, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's why I feel somewhat disappointed with Crimson Desert. It's a lot to like, but ultimately, like, doesn't amount to much, given that I don't think that the mechanical elements are supposed to be freestanding, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So take that for what you will. I'm sure a lot of people disagree about this. Probably the vast majority.
Let us know why.
Yeah, let us know why. Swear at us a little bit in the comments. No doubt that's coming.
Let's discuss it a bit.
Yeah.
See what you think.
Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll be back to talk about
something
in the next couple of weeks.
I don't even know what's coming up.
Yeah. Saros, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah. Hopefully that's good.
Promising. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys very much and take care.
Oh, yeah.